Welcome to Viva La Visionary, the podcast that celebrates the innovative ideas and mindsets of entrepreneurs and visionaries. Join your host, Coach Bob Schittefeld, as he dives into inspiring stories and practical insights from trailblazers who are changing the game. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned leader, this show is your source for motivation and creativity. Let's embark on this exciting journey together.
Hi there, Coach Bob here, host of the podcast Viva La Visionary, celebrating and elevating. And we bring on amazing visionaries to share their experience and wisdom. And today we have Jill Simonds. Jill, how are you today?
Doing good. Excited to
Good.
be here. Thank you.
I'm excited to have you. So very excited to be sharing more wisdom and, not just me teaching it, but learning. And that's all about community. So I appreciate your time and effort. So I start with a very simple, light question to start. What's your purpose for being on this planet? What's your why?
My why is to propel others into their full potential.
Love it. Propel. Oh,
Mhm.
very cool. And love
Yeah,
that. And then tell me about your business. I know you're also a visionary and an integrator. I've got some questions about that, but tell me about your
be
business
fun.
and what you do there.
Yes. CEO and founder of Savvy Strategic Partners. We are a dedicated fractional executive suite and firm. And our focus is executing vision, increasing business value, and helping the founder owners that we get to work with realize freedom in their business, freedom in their lives. And we partner with business owners, leadership teams, with an experienced collective of executive leaders across those core functions of business, operations, revenue, and finance.
Nice. So you do any or all of those things for different clients?
Correct. Yes.
Awesome.
CMOs, revenue officers, fractional CFOs, all serving across those core functions. Yeah.
Well, that's great because again, with a business operating system and the accountability chart, we either can't or sometimes feel like we can't afford all the seats, and yet we want experts. So I love that you offer that, and it doesn't have to be
Exactly.
employees and whatnot. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So tell me, what is your definition of the role? What do you do, and who are you as a visionary? What are the roles and
Mm.
responsibilities for a visionary?
Yeah, the roles and responsibilities of the visionary. And this is where I, in my integrator experience as well,
Right,
harness this to allow the visionary and to propel that visionary into their highest potential.
right,
So it is the big ideas, it is the innovation, it is whatever that looks like for them, for their business, helping us understand and know ourselves as visionaries, is that's a responsibility,
right.
that's a role, right? So many business owners and entrepreneurs that I've had the pleasure of working with don't even know what they want. They don't know their purpose, cause, and passion.
Yeah.
Or maybe they've driven forcefully, and pushed that and grown something, but ultimately, who are we outside of that? Where are we kind of innovating and expanding? And so it's a continual expansion into what it is we want, and to be able to kind of have the foresight and the vision to see how that shapes a future differently for
Right.
ourselves, for our teams, for our communities, for our families. So it really is in our responsibility to harness that power that we have
Right.
in a way that our energy is spent there, our time is spent there, because it is a responsibility and a role as much as it is as a trait that we
Right.
have as well, to show up for our teams in that way, to
Right.
see things in a way that we can see the end of the problem. We can find our way through and solve a lot of those big problems. We're solving problems for the world. We're showing
Right.
up with businesses that are solving a problem in the market or a need for others. So that's our role.
Right.
And that's also where a lot of those traits, when we can harness them well, come in.
So I
Yeah.
love that. I've never heard it explained that part of our role is to know ourselves, which I love. And it's interesting as an EOS implementer, I met one of my clients at a golf outing and they had clients and prospects and they said, Coach Bob, we got clients and prospects. I'm like, have you been sharing your why, what, and how? And he looked at me and I'm like, you don't know your why, what, and how. I'm like, shame on your implementer. But basically, in the 6 habits of a great effing visionary, we talk about for the visionary is to know, love, live, and promote their why, what, and how. And that
Yes.
usually is around the business. So again, what is your purpose, cause, and passion? What's your niche? What's your three uniques? That's great. But
Mm-hmm.
then what I coach as well, so I love that you say that, and I never thought about it as a role, is what's your
Mm,
why, what, and how? And that's one of the
yeah.
things that I think that some business operating systems, they don't take into effect the life of the leader. And it's been interesting as I've coached a lot of businesses through EOS. After a few years, often I'll really drill into the visionary and say, what is your why, what, and how? And to your point, they're like, I don't know. And the team can help them to figure it out, because when we are
Mm-hmm.
in our great gift, our unique ability, sometimes we don't realize how good we are at it, and others can give
Right.
us that mirror. So I'm going to take that as a note. That's one of our roles. I love it.
Yes, it is. There's so much of the business that's dependent upon the founder and that
Right,
owner. And in order for them to really elevate to that unique ability and that core genius,
right,
they have to know themselves. They have to know, what is it they want? What is it that my role looks like
right.
here and in life? And we're not doing enough of that.
Yeah,
I think, as a coaching community, as business coaching and operating system community, it's definitely a hindrance to the growth in those businesses,
right.
and why they're holding on. Why are they holding on so tightly? There's something
Yeah. Well,
intrinsic
that's
happening.
right. And that's where, we talk about letting go of the vine. And a lot of visionaries have a hard time letting go of the vine if they don't know what life beyond the vine is, which is what we're talking. What is your why? What are your hobbies? What else do you want to do? And if we
Yeah,
don't have a compelling why within our business that ties into who we are and our why, what, and how, often we
right.
lose interest and we go to another call to adventure. And it's like
Yeah.
letting go of the vine isn't just leaving.
Hmm. Right.
Love that.
Exactly.
So, what is it like? I've heard Gino talk about from his research about 5% of visionaries are also integrators. So, you're in both of those traits and seats.
Yes.
So, how do you deal with that? Because to me, the integrator role is the worst role I could have ever imagined, and yet very much appreciated. As you know, I can use that, and when I have that perfect puzzle
Hmm.
piece, life is amazing. And when I don't, I go crazy. And so for me, I need to hear myself think to really learn things. And so a lot of times that
Hmm.
is with my integrator. So how do you do that with
Hmm.
yourself?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I think what a lot of maybe visionaries don't realize initially too is how much of integrator they've had to harness and tap into in needs in the business when they need it.
Right.
And so it definitely just depends on the stage of that business and the role
Right.
that you need to play in that moment, because how great businesses are, started with entrepreneurs is takes a dynamic of both of those activities, behaviors, and execution happening toward the
Right.
vision. So there's definitely there's one that's more energizing than the other. So
Right.
I've met and come across several integrators who are also visionaries, and vice versa, or visionaries that do play the integrator role for quite some time in the business,
Right.
upwards of still lower mid-market organizations that have made it to that point, and to a point of kind of a fork in the road, and realizing
Right.
which one energizes me more,
Right.
and choosing that way. So I feel like, for me, understanding and knowing myself, right? What are my kind of working genius,
Right.
Colby, those sorts of things in terms of where work really starts humming for
Right.
me is execution. So I can be in that dreaming vision space. I can see I'm also a super low fact finder. I'm a three
Ah,
fact finder.
so
And
that
so
makes a difference then.
exactly.
So you're not
But
stuck in
where
that, right?
yeah, I don't get stuck in this ideation and this wonder. Mine are galvanizing and discerning, by the way. And
Right.
so it really is,
Hmm.
I am kind of a group leader. I'm a very social visionary. And so
Right.
decisions and talking through things, sometimes that can be a double-edged sword, because I'm really trying to weigh in and understand everybody else's perspectives to
Right.
discern the most important things. But really it's just a balance between those, when I need to put that hat on. Um, but where the magic happens is bringing things to life
Right.
and bringing things to fruition. So seeing the potential and then being able to very efficiently discern what are the three steps there. I don't
Right.
need a ton of facts. I don't need a ton of context or background. And having the ability to work with so many entrepreneurs gives a lot of that repeatable expertise that is
Right.
like, oh, we've done this. I've
Right.
been here. We can
Right.
cut through a lot of the kind of the red tape or the process of knowing what's going to work well.
Right.
So for me, finding that balance is tricky when it comes to my own business too, not only like clients that we're serving and when I'm in that role, but when it comes to Savvy and building what is a firm to be able to, serve a widespread, diverse group of industries and businesses. I thrive in the visionary role. And
Right.
so that is ultimately where the most energy stems from and where I'm
Right.
headed. So,
Right. Good. Well, good. I'm excited to see how that goes. One of the things that
hmm
I've learned, because discernment is not one of my working geniuses, but I've got a few tools through iMatter that I use, and I
hmm
record my answers to then send to my team. And what's interesting is when I hear myself talking, it helps me to discern as opposed to when it's in my head, I have a hard time discerning.
hmm
So that's helped
right.
me whether like if oh, this is a great idea, I come in early, I record it and I'm like, that really isn't worth sending even. So that's something I'm learning to discern what do I even share, you know,
hmm
but just a safe space to hear myself think, which again, with the
Yes.
visionary integrator role, that is a key thing that I need as a visionary. But I'm learning to even mentor myself a little bit more and discern. I'm not good on the execution, but if I have 10 great
hmm
ideas today, if I say them out loud and record them, I realize half of them aren't good to begin with. And or
hmm
when I share it, it's not with emotion, it's actually on the audio. So that's been a good thing that I'm
Right.
hearing with a lot of my visionaries is because when
Yeah.
it's up here, either I think it's the greatest idea or the most horrible idea, but when I say it out loud, it's just a lot clearer. So that's been
Yes.
a big win for me.
Yes.
So
It's a
that's
good
one
way
of
to
my learning
process.
lessons as a visionary. What's something that you've learned over the years, a trick or a hack or a lesson that you learned that really kind of helped you as a visionary that you could share with us?
Oh gosh, I'd say, well, I mean, I don't know as if it's a new hack by any means, but I think there's definitely a lot of what Gino Wickman talks about in 10 Disciplines, as well as books like Buy Back Your Time and tools like Delegate and Elevate. I think what I've learned is delegating before you realize you need to
Right.
has been a hack. I think that there's a little bit of, I mean, like all of us, a way of doing things, and we kind of get into um, whether it feels like habit or something that we can kind of do in our sleep without realizing how much of the energy it is taking from us, moving forward in other ways.
Right.
Uh, Earlier is always better.
Yeah.
And before you need it, while you still have the moment and the clarity to teach and guide and hand it over successfully for someone else to
Right.
do. Delegate sooner than you are, if you're scrambling, it's a lot harder to pull back those layers.
Right.
Um, and so buy back your time. Look at what you're spending your energy on that is lower level and never, I think Gino's rule of thumb is never do anything that you can pay someone $25 an hour to do.
Right.
Um, all of those are kind of eye-opening hacks to
Right.
remember because I think
Right.
it's easy for us to do them without thinking, and just to
Right.
keep going through it. And then it's like, wait a minute,
Right.
what am I spending my time on? Where's my energy really going? And letting go of those way sooner than you think you need to.
Right. No, I love that. I know that it's just, oh, it's easier for me to do, but not only does it take me 2 hours to do something that someone else could do in 15 minutes, when I do something I'm not good at, and especially if I'm not good at and don't like, I want to go home and go to bed after. So it not only hurt me for 2 hours, but it ruined me for the rest of the day. So yeah,
It's
delegate don't make,
way,
yeah,
yes,
so much. And a
it's
lot of it
way
is
more
around fear.
costly.
Right, right. And a
hmm
lot of it's on fear. Oh, I can't afford it. Or yeah, but if it saves me an hour or two, whether I go play or go get a new client or whatever, I mean, what is that worth? So yeah,
Yes.
delegate early. I appreciate that. What is what's an opportunity or an issue you're working on now as a visionary that you're wrestling with and making some decisions on?
Ooh, uh, yeah, I'm writing a book.
Nice.
And so a lot of what I'm focusing on is the intellectual property within our firm and what's going to continue to be differentiation in the market. Uh, Business coaching, fractional, all of that is very saturated. It's very saturated. It's very noisy,
Right.
and so really putting the energy and effort into establishing how we can truly continue to provide value and what is a unique value add is something that I'm really focused on in the midst of kind of building it in and doing it just in what we do, but it takes the wherewithal and the energy to step back,
Right.
document it, build it, right? It's really putting a lot of what kind of just comes from our mind
Right.
and what's all in our head, and we just, we're just doing it by this. We don't have to overly explain it to a client how we're taking them through this or how we're measuring this outcome from here to here. We just do it. And so how to take that kind of intellectual property from within and just a system of out of our brains
Right.
and into something more tangible.
Yeah. And out of our brains and
Yeah,
out of our hearts. Right. Absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people that are attracted to the Visionary Forum, I think, are purpose-driven visionaries that want to make a dent in the universe and leave a mark. And so it is often becoming a thought leader, and it might be something in our industry or culture or whatever it might be. And so I call that craft, so that we're teaching what we need to learn. And again, that builds so
Mm,
much credibility and trust and sets us apart that it may not be for everyone, but for those who are looking for it, it's like, ooh, he's the expert on that. So
right.
what is your book going to be about?
It is unseen forces. So it is about intangible value in businesses.
Cool.
So, as a P&L owner, often within businesses that we serve and the executive team, that is sort of that North Star. But what is it happening unseen and the forces behind what lies in revenue and profitability is the health of its people, the health of its structure and systems, the
Right.
health of its customer and branding, and relationships. So, and relationships, whether that's internal, but especially in that business's sphere, their vendor relations, their partnerships, their brand, right? So, just how to harness those intangibles in the business to truly be a business of value creation, not just, oh, we're just this top line number and profit. Um, and a lot of that centers around what, kind of my favorite mission and purpose is
Right.
elevating others to their full potential. It is getting that visionary founder, business owner out of the way, right?
Right.
Or in a position that the business is not solely dependent upon them, because
Yep.
that is, a huge deterrent to that business's value and its longevity long term.
Right. Cool. Well, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to learning from that and reading that. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Hopefully
So
comes
as
out this year. Well,
yeah,
yeah, it's
cool.
it's a slow, long process, as you know.
I do. And yet, what I've learned from that is for our book, I said it out there that if it helps, if it mainly was written for me. And again, I think a lot of times we teach things that we're still kind of learning. So
Mm,
I already feel like it was a success, and it's been a great marketing tool, and it sets myself apart. So again, I love
mm-hmm.
that if it doesn't take too long. One of my other coaching clients, it really has helped him. He kind of had the same mentality. It may or may not help him to grow his business, but it helped all, even of his employees and his industry, to understand what's going on and put
Yes.
context. And sure enough, he's now becoming more of a thought leader. He's getting more speaking gigs. He's getting more business. He's enjoying life more. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a common thing for us visionaries. I love that. Well, cool.
Yes.
And then, as you know, our tagline at the Visionary Forum, it's Viva La Visionary. What does that saying mean to you?
Oh, I love it. Viva La Visionary. Yes. Uh, Empowerment to be our full selves and to show up as our full selves.
Right,
Kind of being on the other side of that, oftentimes working with so many visionaries, is that it can feel like they need to be put in a box and kind of off to the side, or there's shaming happening for, a lot of the disruption or a lot of the chaos.
right,
And um, how can we harness that for good and bring that in as a magical power that
right,
wouldn't exist otherwise? And so flipping that script is is so impactful in an organization to truly thrive and to grow,
right,
and especially for that individual. And I love what the message behind Viva La Visionary, the Visionary Forum community, underneath this overall message of I matter,
right.
is so incredible, because I have met a lot of visionaries and worked hand in hand and partnered with them. Not even, they don't even know what their space is, where their
Right.
space for them is.
Yeah,
And that
in life, not
is,
just their business, right?
yes. And that breaks my heart. It
Yeah,
truly is like, no, 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 no. Right. So I think we've had it wrong, or we've had it all wrong with this message. I think that kind of got coded in along the way of like, oh, they just can't do this without. And it's, yes, those things are true, but not in a shameful kind of, not in that way.
right.
So Viva La Visionary is grab onto that torch, wave that flag proudly, show up, but it really is when they know themselves, and we know how we are, how we show up, where we're the most impactful and where we're not,
Right.
to just embrace that. It is an embracing, empowering phrase. And so I think it's so powerful, because it needs to be exemplified. It needs to be there is that space, and how can they be and exist in that space in a way that creates something magical?
No, I love that, and again, it resonates to me. I almost tear up as you're talking about it because, and as I started this podcast and I interview and I coach visionaries, almost every one of them, at least that aren't integrators, they often admit that it's like I've never fit in my life. I didn't fit in at school. I didn't fit in my family. Kind of made fun of. Oh,
Hmm.
there goes Bob again. And so, I mean, it's built up a bit of a thick skin, but underneath there is some shaming, and so just going through some of that
Hmm.
healing because to me, we need, as we hit the ceiling of complexity, we need process and we need magic. We need
Yes.
structure and we need creativity. And so, because it's hard
Hmm.
to determine, and even said the unseen value or unseen results, like you mentioned in your book that you're writing, there's unseen
Hmm.
value for us as visionaries. Because I'm like, well,
Yeah.
what did I do today? I just talked to people. Yeah, but if I inspired someone or helped someone solve a problem or connected someone,
Hmm.
that's what I'm here to not only do, but to be. And so, yeah, the
Yes.
Viva La Visionary has been just so impactful for me and many of us to
Mm.
say, again, it's not screw structure, it's structure
Right.
and this. And again, we're in an
Exactly.
amazing age right now where it is about collaboration and relationships, the things you talked about in your book. And so, and
Hmm.
sometimes, we visionaries are drama queens and everything's great. Oh, we're so screwed. And so to have
Yeah.
that, and we define self mastery in Unscattered to Chatter. Our book is
Yeah.
clarity plus confidence plus commitment is self mastery. So clarity on who I am, and so I didn't even know what a visionary was until Gino helped me 21 years ago to realize there
Hmm.
was a place for me in business, and
Right.
especially if I have a team, because I'm like I don't want to run a business. I just want to have fun and solve problems and help a lot of people. And so, but it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, I can do that and have a
Yeah.
business. That's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. It's amazing what you've created. Yes. And I think that uh with the other side of that in Viva La Visionary for me is stepping more into. So I think there's a lot of us that kind of through their journey just still lived in that, and then the outside kind of, external reception, perception of others could tamper that down a little bit, or just not feel like we had a space. What about when we completely shift and wear a different persona of ourselves to fit in, to
Right.
belong, Viva La Visionary for me has been take that shell off and
Yep.
just show up in the way that I will be accepted, embraced, loved for what I bring to the table. I think there's so many visionaries that have just tampered down
Yep.
the magic of their vision because it's
I've
not going to
done
be it's not
that.
accepted. Yeah, you're not accepted, or it's like you're like, oh, this is going to freak people out, so I'll just kind of softly
Right.
put this out there so it's safe for everybody. And
Hmm.
I'm just, yeah, I'm so empowered by the message of let's just show up as we are,
Right.
as our true selves.
I love that. And it's often like any human condition, human behavior, there's healing that goes on. And it's just been so cool. One
Yeah.
of our other taglines is visionaries unleashing visionaries. So it's iron sharpening iron. So to show
Yes.
up and to admit that, I'm either afraid of this or I'm feeling sad or whatever it might be, we don't get stuck in it, but we can heal it. And then
Right.
I'm not dependent on my value or worth being validated from the outside, it's from the inside. And so at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, because if it's like, if you didn't like my idea, I'm like, oh, okay, we won't do it. Well, it's one person, and maybe you didn't understand it or I didn't communicate it properly. But
Yeah.
yeah, so as I learned those things, it's such a
Hmm.
cool thing. The visionaries are uniting now, not together against others. It's together to help each other to grow our own communities and to create
Yeah,
amazing lives, and that's what's changing the world. I mean, this to me is the greatest time ever to be alive. And
it
love being
is.
a visionary, and I love having integrators to help me.
Mhm.
So
Exactly.
I
It's
appreciate
where the
all.
magic happens. We need
It
both. We
it
need,
does awesome. So, any other experience, share, or wisdom you want to share with visionaries? This has been awesome. But
oh gosh. I mean, I think just to sum it up, just know yourself, love yourself, start there.
right,
Honestly, start there. I think that there's so much you miss out on when you're just focused on what's in front of you or how you need to show up for somebody else and just kind of ignoring maybe what's truly pulling you, what's truly inside of you.
right,
I think what I often like to say is like answer you're looking for is here. It's
yep,
within you. And I think as woo woo as that can sound to people, it's like, no, I mean, in the simplest form, just talk to yourself more, listen, just sit and listen, just, anything you can do to just understand how you work, how you think, what matters most to you, what's really
right,
pulling you. That is a foundational piece that I think so many of us are missing. So many visionaries don't know their identity
right.
outside of this thing that they've built and this thing they've poured their blood, sweat, and tears into. And I just want to peel back all of that. If all of this just fell away, who really are you and what do you want?
Right.
Sometimes it's just if you can cut through that, that is the most powerful place to start.
No, I love that. Thank you. And I've
Yeah.
been through that and go through it, and I'm letting go every day,
Yeah.
learning every day. But
Yeah.
nice to hear that
Exactly.
I'm not
It's
alone. Yeah, because I have felt alone in the
no.
past. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. It can be isolating. It can be lonely if we
Right.
let it, but it is
Right.
also not a one and done. It's
No.
every day you have to choose that.
And
Yeah.
for us to be examples for others, because a lot of people don't even know what vision is. And so for us to coach
Hmm.
our kids, our employees, the next gen, well, what
Yeah.
is your vision for your role? What is the vision for your life? And people are like, I have no idea. And so us visionaries are like, well, it could be this, it could be that. And so to be an
Hmm.
example, but then also to help coach people, what's your vision for your goal or your rock? And again, just to slow down. That's been my biggest lesson is I'm rushing
Hmm.
through to say, here's my vision. And if you get in my way, I'll cast you aside. And that doesn't really help for teamwork and culture. So as I've slowed down to say,
Yeah.
okay, is everyone clear on where we're going? Because I might have said it really fast once. And then,
Hmm.
what is your role? Do you get it? And then just to have relationships with people and to listen. That's been a
Yeah.
big learning
Yep.
opportunity for me. So, all right, cool.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Love
thank
it.
you very much. I appreciate
Yeah.
you
Thank you.
and everything you add to the forum and to the world and to my life. And I
Oh, thank
appreciate it.
you.
And
You
we'll talk
too.
soon. All right.
All right.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Peace. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Viva La Visionary. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found inspiration in our guest stories. If you loved what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and share the podcast with fellow dreamers and doers. Join us next time as we continue to explore the limitless possibilities of visionary thinking. Until then, keep dreaming big and taking action. Your vision matters.